Hello. So my plan is I don't really have a plan. I have some graphics projects. Oh no, I've got my web page open. There we go. I've got some graphics projects that I want to play around with a little bit, and it's a bit freestyle unstructured. So I'm just gonna code, and I've got two projects. I got a game, which I started working on in my spare time, which has voxels. Maybe I can pull that up now, and it had some technical limitations, and so I started making a new voxel project. It was kind of clunky to click on things the way I'd done it. So I've made a new voxel renderer, Minecraft style. It's almost exactly the same way as Minecraft works. And I like it more, and the code's much nicer. It's the second time I've done it, so I kind of want to stick this in the game project, but the game project has some stuff that I can't do in here, and I'm in two minds about it. So I think I'm just going to make some stuff with this new voxel thing that I've got open here and see what happens. So start sticking things together. If I want to make a new game on it, great. If I don't, I don't know. So I've got a couple of things. I might try and stick a interactive console in here so I can type stuff in and change the terrain and stuff. So I guess that's what I'll do first. I wanted to play some music, but I've just reinstalled my Linux and the volume levels are insane, so I can't play music to myself or you while I'm working. I don't know what happened, but it just about melted my head, so I'm gonna give up on that. Um, can you hear my microphone okay? I think so, because I heard it in the web page a minute ago. Cool. Yeah, anyway, this is the little voxel thing I was playing around with. The source code for this is online if you want to grab it. It's on my GitHub. I have a repo. I'll just find the link there. So that is my GitHub page. I just paste it in the chat and find a folder. It is this one here. So it's that demo if you want to look at what I'm coding or grab it. I think I only set it up to build on Linux. I can't remember, but it should build for everything. So the advantage to this one I didn't have in the previous one was this one I kind of based on how Minecraft works. The previous one I just kind of made it up, having never done a voxel project before. So this one, the main thing I wanted to do was have a way to select the sides of a block. Before I could only select whole blocks. So if I wanted to build something before, I would have to select the top of the block. So I couldn't really build things here, which is kind of a pain. So if I wanted to build a little wall or a floor or something, I couldn't do this, and now I can. So that was the main advantage. At the moment, it's like all the geometry is kind of in chunks, the same way Minecraft works. So you have these chunks, I think they're like 256 units high. And if I disappear into the terrain, you could probably see how they split up. Yeah, so a chunk is this big, so I'm inside one at the moment, and you can see the neighbors around are also the same kind of size. So they're that big, and they're super tall, and that is one like vertex buffer all in one chunk. So if I modify it, it will regenerate that whole chunk. I feel like that's kind of the way Minecraft works, in that whole unit's like that. Ooh. Oh, I think I got a bug there actually. So I was trying to delete some blocks, and it didn't do it right away until I built a new one. Yeah, so I think I have a little bug there to fix first. That was it really. Maybe I'll dig up the other one. Um, so this is the older project, and I wanted to make a kind of a retro. I love building games. We build cities and stuff. They're my favorite. So I wanted to make something like that. Of course, it's coming out the wrong audio. Um, um, okay, now it's melting my brain levels of loud. So there you go. That's what you get when Linux desktop. Okay, so yeah, it's the same idea. And you have some text and stuff, and you have like fog of war style. If you haven't explored somewhere, it's black. So you can build things. Put some stairs there. So I can't actually select the side of a block, which is what I really wanted to be able to do. I have to kind of select the top of something. And I found that a bit clunky, and it gets a bit annoying after a while if you're trying to build things. So if I highlight blocks for him to go and dig, he will sort of go down the stairs, and then you can see it's kind of exploring the terrain. But what I really liked about this was I did it in layers, actually. It's not whole chunks, it's in slices within a chunk, so you can kind of go up and down. So if you have a multi-floor thing you're building, you can see the floors. And I think that's something other games don't do very well. I really liked a game called Dungeon Keeper, and what I always wished I could do playing Dungeon Keeper was have multi-floor stuff. So build a multi-level dungeon, and it would have been tricky to do that, but I feel like I can do that now. And it has an interactive console with auto completion stuff, so I can turn off the fog and you can see the whole world. So the voxel rendering wasn't as good, but I liked the voxel interaction wasn't as good, but I liked the outline drawing that it does around things. I thought that was a nice style. And it's not going to be as easy to recreate that now in the new one, but I'll think about that. I'm sure I can do it, but it was a little tricky to set up, and actually how to set up a surface for outlines, because it does like whole contiguous surfaces like that. It won't draw, there are different types of block there, but it won't draw an outline around the types. It'll do the whole flat surface. And to do that, I actually did it encoded it in the voxel layer. And it was a little bit tricky. Um, so I might try and bring that back eventually. It's kind of it introduced a lot of other problems, because as soon as you do any post-processing stuff like drawing outlines, you now have a more or less multi-pass rendering setup. You lose the built-in anti-aliasing. You have to add in another pass to do other anti-aliasing. I don't really like multi-pass rendering for that reason. It adds a lot of complexity that is kind of difficult to deal with. So I might even consider ditching the outline rendering, but I thought it looked really cool when you built like little underground things with rooms and passages. So I'll think about it. There may be a simpler way to do that that doesn't require a post-processing stage. So yeah, so I've started making a little building game, and you can build kind of rooms and things, and they do actually use them. And I have a way of selecting like a whole set of blocks, so I would need to redo that as well. You can get up to mine stuff. So kind of like Minecraft, but you don't have to manually punch all the trees yourself. Was kind of the idea. You have peasants to do that for you. Um, so he should eventually go and mine stuff for me, and you can switch levels and rotate around and stuff like that. And he picks up little blocks. So it's kind of he can't go somewhere for some reason. It's kind of split up into. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. You have to choose a stockpile with the correct type of block. Yeah, and I didn't have a nice way of indicating that either. But totally lost my train of thought. But this is what I was building, and it ran out of steam. I wanted to be able to build, like little smelters and things, and then you collect this and that and the other and get more sophisticated. But if I'm honest, I got a bit bored with it. So I might try and do something else for the new one. Yeah, by the way, feel free to ask something on chat if you want me to talk about something. I'm just goofing around, so I don't have a timeline or anything like that. I'm just going to try and rebuild that voxel project in its own folder and then bring other things in. And it was referring to a bunch of relative paths to other stuff, so I don't even think I need all that. It was just image output for various things. I'm thinking about remaking a voxel game on top of the new thing. I'll probably reuse some of the elements. I still like doing building games with little people that run around and do stuff for you. It's kind of a nice, I guess, opportunity to refactor stuff to a tidy version of the things that worked. Um, I'm very good at getting distracted with pointless little complexities of things that I don't need to build. So it's also an opportunity to get rid of a few things that didn't work so well or a bit of a time sink. I think everyone falls into that trap. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna play around, and if it tickles my fancy, I'll rebuild a game on top of it. But if it doesn't, I'll give up on it. So I'm only gonna spend an afternoon on it and see what happens. So yeah, I don't have a fixed plan or anything. Now this error, I don't know why that's happening because it didn't happen last time I built it. That's concerning. Okay, so it's looking for the wrong stuff for some kind of OpenGL include. I'm using the same build script to build it, so it's a little odd that it's complaining now and it didn't before. Um, hmm. Yeah, I don't know about that one. 2774. Um, Oops. No. Uh-oh. Press the wrong button. 2774. I have no idea why it's complaining about this line. All of a sudden, and it didn't before. I feel like I've done a stupid somewhere that's causing that to happen. Because it didn't happen with the same stuff. So yeah, why didn't this have the same problem? Um, I wonder if it's as simple as a path thing. That it's not including the header properly because of a relative path. That's exactly what that was. Okay, well, error messages from compilers, terrible. Okay, good. So I have a moved version of this project. What I'd like to do is, the first thing I'd like to do is add in a drop-down console to it. And I have a library to do that. I don't think it's in here. Blah, blah, blah. So if I go and yeah, I'm just going to do a whole line, I think, with my little mini libraries I've made. So console, ply.c. I'm going to put all these in a subfolder as well, I think. Pix font, ply, that's it, isn't it? And then line. Okay. Okay, I think that's going to work. No. Oh, I updated one of the libraries. That shouldn't have happened. Oh, I know what I did. I moved an old one onto the new one. So, ah, hmm. Okay. What is it complaining about? What madness is this? Okay. Pix font. Oh, the stream has started, so I can get rid of that little texty thing. Boop. Okay. So I have two calls to my little pixel font renderer. Why are they wrong? Let's see. What is the actual string into image command it's complaining about? Zip. And why is it mismatching? Because it is building in my repository, so it shouldn't be happening like that. Image, width, height, number of channels, red, green, blue, alpha, thickness, outlines, and V-flip. I got rid of V-flip. So there should not be a V-flip option in there, but there is a V-flip option. But there is not in this one, and that's what I wanted to copy over the top. So, oh dear. Okay. It said it was the same file. So let's delete these, because that is clearly not true. I'll open a terminal here. So, pg console. How very, very odd. Oh, 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 oh. Okay, that looked like everything worked. Oh, man. Okay. Main, what are you complaining about now? Okay, that's fine. For some reason, it wasn't updating those files for me before, but it did now. Just gonna get rid of that, which is no longer used. Okay. I see Clang format is not working. How about now? Yeah, that'll do. That's the way I like it. Unused variable fee flip, yeah, because I got rid of it. Okay. Good. That should bring me up to date with the latest version of my libraries. Okay. Wow, that was a lot of effort for something very simple. All right, so I've got my text rendering in the top left there. Now I think I'm just about ready to stick the console in. Okay, so if I go to main, zip up the top. I'm going to put this in a slidey window so I can have it as a reference. And what I'm going to do there, start off by registering some variables just to make sure it works. Okay, let's just do a fake variable. Start GL, I don't care about that. Data type, so that should be APG C in 32. And I'm going to call it test variable. And this returns something, I think. Returns false if failed, okay. Okay, that looks like it worked. And I'm just going to fetch that again and print it and make sure that it registered. str and var pointer. How dare you? Oh, that's going to get annoying. Okay. So it should print something out here. Test variable 123. Okay, so at least it's compiling in and working. I don't need that to be a variable. So I'll get rid of that. And ideally, I can now draw it. Okay, I can't remember how big my screen was. I'm just going to make something up. I'm not sure if this happens on the first frame or not. You know what? I'm just going to dig into the code. Okay. Might not. I'm going to make a little quick and dirty thing to draw my console at the end of the drawing loop. But before the frame counter. Okay, I need to allocate some memory. I'm going to do that once up front somewhere. Let's see. Let's do it up where main is somewhere for the time being. So I'm going to say int make a background color for the console. I feel like green is a good one. Sure, I'm sorry I don't have any music or anything. It would have made much more enjoyable, but there you go. That's Linux audio for you. Draw image to memory, image. Oh, I didn't validate that allocation. Did I even allocate any memory? I feel like I did. Draw image mem, return. Oh, I have image pointer. I called it C for console underscore everything. I think that's what I called it. Oh, it's just N. I think that's C underscore background color. It's just background color. Okay. Not anymore. Okay, so if I need to redraw the console, it's going to do that and put it in that memory. And I would also need to create a texture for it. Maybe I should have put this after starting OpenGL somewhere. I have a thing to do textures, I think. Create texture from mem sounds like me. Okay. Okay, my buffer was called this. Is it sRGB? Yeah, okay. It's not a depth texture. It's not BGR. Okay, and then I guess somewhere at the end of main. Is anyone even remotely following what I'm doing here? Basically, I've got this existing graphics program that renders voxels, and I want to stick a little mini library I have that renders a console, like a drop-down Quake style console into it, so I can start regenerating things by typing things in while it's running. Okay, so it shouldn't crash, but it shouldn't show anything yet. Okay. Ooh, memory leak, huh? I didn't free my image memory. Okay. I just want to keep that allocated and reuse it rather than allocate it each time I redraw something, so I don't get little spikes when it needs to redraw. It won't matter much for a console, but in general, I try to avoid that. That should keep it happy. So I have an address sanitizer on as I'm building it, which picks up those memory leaks, which is really, really handy. Okay, cool. It's doing stuff. There is a command here called in my console library called like print to console or something. Yeah, apgc print. So I'm going to get rid of that temporary variable that doesn't do anything yet and replace it with this, which means that the first time I try to draw the console, it'll say, yes, I need to redraw and actually do something. Hello from Anton's new voxel thing. Okay, so if I actually, hopefully I've built this in debug mode and have it all set up so that if I come down to here, it should actually do this the first time it runs the program. I run it in, oh no, create a JSON launch file, yeah, okay. Good question. Default. It's a.out and I think that's all I need to do. So it should work. It's done something. Yeah, okay. So the first frame, it will try and update the console, which is what I want. If I run another frame, it shouldn't stop there because I haven't told it to draw anything else. But actually, because I haven't actually drawn it, maybe it won't. No, that's good. Okay, so once I've updated that image memory, it's fine. So it'll only do it on demand. That's good. Okay, so I need to update that texture though. Aha, what a helpful named command. Update texture. Okay. Update texture, and I called it a really helpful name of C texture. And my pixels are C image pointer, and it's not BGR. I don't know why I have that everywhere. There must have been some need for that. Blah. Build. And basically, it just shouldn't crash. It won't display anything yet. And then I can think about drawing it onto a quad somewhere here, actually. I guess I want to do that every frame. Okay, draw console every frame. So draw textured quad sounds like something I want. Man, I have great function names. What scale do we want it to be? Back to maybe the whole width and like half the height. Half the height seems like a big console, but I feel like I deserve a big console. Um, Position. So I'm using designated initializers here, which are a C99 feature. C++ people have this, but it's crappy. In the latest version, I think C++ 20 is putting this out, but it's not very good. Not as flexible. And so .x is 0. That's actually 0 by default, I think. So .y is, I think, up 1 makes sense, does it? No, probably not. Maybe 0.5. I don't know. Let's just try it and see what happens. Oh, that is a helpfully named function. Pat on the back, Anton. Okay. What does this do? It actually worked. Okay. I shouldn't sound surprised because I wrote this. Okay, so I have a crappy looking, badly stretched console with the text I wanted to appear in there. It's not interactive. I can't type stuff in yet, but that's just a case of me calling the right functions. So why is it badly stretched? Probably it needs to be scaled to the same aspect ratio as the width and the height I gave it. Oh, okay. What about if... So what width and height did I give it, actually? 512 by 512. Well, let's make the height 256, and that might actually work. That looks right. The resolution's a bit low, but I think that's okay. I think that's okay. Oh, you probably can't see my text that I'm typing in very well, can you? Because I forgot to zoom the screen in. So can you actually read that code? Probably not, right? I forgot about that entirely. So I might blow that up a bit if that's easier to read. I could make it 16. Let's see what that does. Is that easier to read on screen? Much better? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You should have said something because I'm a bit crap at streaming, if I'm honest. So I can even make it bigger if you prefer. Okay, so I might actually double the resolution, although the bigger the resolution I make my text drawing area, the slower it's going to be to process. Doesn't really matter for a console because I'm not going to be doing any performance stuff while I'm typing things in. That looks okay. I could make that a lot sharper if it really matched the aspect ratio of the display, which I don't think it does. I think what I could do is actually print the screen dimensions or get them. Probably have a function to do that somewhere. Well, where am I? Oops, where am I calling the viewport command? Okay, so I am getting those every frame. Can I be bothered with this now? Probably not. I guess what I should do is work out the exact size on the screen for that like pixel size. Oh, that's painful. Yeah, it's this is exactly the thing I want to do there, but I don't want to like have to change the size of the memory I'm using. That's really painful. So maybe this will do. Just change the scale. So I want to say vec2 c scale equals something like this. I think that'll work. I'm having a bit of a slow brain power day, so oh, what did I do wrong there? I think that's right. That might scale it a bit better. It looks chunkier than it should be and a little blurry to me, so I think I've got that a little wrong somehow. Not really sure why. Perhaps it's supposed to be skinnier. Yeah, I don't actually know why that is. I could try copying the size values I used from the other project where I didn't have that problem. Well, that definitely didn't work. Maybe that's the best thing to do, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Kind of feels to me like it's been stretched wider than it should be. So maybe it is supposed to be the same width and height. That would make sense, really, wouldn't it, as a texturing thing? No, absolutely it does not. Yeah, there's something a little off there and it's bothering me. Okay. I wonder if it's more like that. That looks better, actually. Aspect-wise for the text. Okay, so what about if I do that, but make it Half as big on the screen. So keep that actual resolution, but shrink it down. So render the image that big, but the actual display is smaller. That didn't do anything. Okay, that's weird. Why didn't that do anything? How very odd. Very odd. Oh. Very, very odd. I don't know why that is. I'm making it bigger, aren't I? Getting massively sidetracked with fiddly little text sizing things, but that's the way it goes. If no one was looking, no one would know I was wasting this much time. Yeah, that's just really not right at all. Why didn't I load up how I did it last time? That one. Source and main. Okay, how did I do the console last time? Oh, I don't think I even used the little library. Well, okay, that's a bit useless. Is it? Is it a bit useless? I think I used something different. So when I initialized the console, I made it half the width and height of the frame buffer. Which is okay, but see, the reason I don't want to do that is because I need to allocate memory, and if I resize the screen, it's going to be the wrong size. And I don't want to have to go through that rigmarole of reallocating memory again. But maybe that's what I need to do. I guess the initial size can be that big, and then we'll worry about resizing later. So if I do that, where do I get the frame buffer actually? There. So let's move that down. Okay, so that seems kind of more reasonable. I think I'm using an older version of that library I made. And then what scale do I set it to, actually? Not sure you can set a scale. Must do. Well, that didn't work at all. Yeah. Why would the width be half? Scale. Well, let's just try that and see what happens. It looks okay. It's very kind of crisp, slightly the wrong position. That's not a big deal. It's only, I think only when I zoom it in, it's wrong. So what I'd need to do when I resized the whole, oh, what did I do there? Oh dear. There's some sort of major bug there that I inadvertently discovered. So I think that's the correct scale actually. It's just when I resize it, I would need to rescale that image, and I'm certainly not going to bother with that now, so I'll just use it in this size, I think. Yeah, I'll see if I can position it a bit better though. So where did I position it? Short text to quad, so the position is x at 1. Why would that be? Feel like it should be -1 really, shouldn't it? -1 on the left-hand side of this display in screen space, I think so. No. Oh, it's 0.5 wide, so maybe it's like this. -0.5 is the left-hand side, I guess. If it's 1, it'll probably disappear. Nope, that wasn't it at all. I'm not doing so well today. Well, I seem to have managed to royally screw this up, so... Oh well, it happens. There's something very odd about this, that, like, moving it to the right-hand side somehow moves it that far. It doesn't feel right at all. What if I move it 0.5? It really feels like it's the wrong size for some reason. That moves it further to the right-hand side. There's something very odd about this. If I mixed up scale and position, that would explain a lot. That's exactly what I've done. This whole time, I've actually mixed up scale and position. So there we go. That's why I'm going to create variables with names. Okay. Well done, Anton. Well done. Okay. I would really love to have some languages have named parameters where you can avoid that problem entirely by when you set an argument to the function, you can say which one you're setting. So the position I want actually at -1. I think -1. That would explain when I was changing the scale, it was doing nothing. So that whole time was because I'd mixed up two parameters. Okay, that's too far. There you go. Okay, that looks fine. I could make it wider. I could make it twice as wide. Does that really matter? Probably not, unless you want to write like really long strings. I could just not scale it as much, so you could actually read it. That might be better. So let's set the scale at 1. And then I think that is -1. No, that's not correct at all, Anton. Really not correct at all. Um, why is that not correct? Something still feels a bit off here. So if the scale is 1, I assume that means it's from -1 to 1 and actually 2 units across. But I guess the way I set this up, 0, 0 is the left, not -1, which is just making things far more confusing than they need to be. Okay, that'll do. All right, that's looking fine. That's where I want it to go. That took far longer than it should have done. So there you have it. Now what I want to do is give myself the ability to type stuff in. And I don't know if I have this in my little library here. There should be like an enable and disable user input for typing. I don't know if it's in that header. Do I have it in here maybe? I don't, but I don't think it would be terribly hard to do. So underneath here, I think I'm using the glfw library to do keyboard input. Let's see here. Yes. So glfw. Okay. glfw somewhere has a function, I recall, that lets you turn on and off typing, essentially. So I don't want key callback, because that'll give me one at a time. I don't think so. Input mode, I think is, maybe that's what I want. Text input. Okay, here we go. You can enter the code into code points or any other blah, blah, blah. Okay, set a callback. That callback receives Unicode code points. Da, 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 okay, and then I presume when you turn this off, you set the callback with null as the function. I think that's working. That's the way it works, I think. So I need to go in here. Um, so I guess what I want is like, I'm just checking out what the return type of that is. Okay, so I can check for null. So avoid enable input enable typing mode or something. Yeah, I think so. I think what I wanted to do there is every time I get a character, I'll start accumulating a buffer. So I'll start off by going clear the previous buffer. Maybe actually if not enable, I think to turn it off, I just do this. Okay. And clear then, okay, if, and then return. Actually, I can return a true or false to say that it's successful, so return true. Otherwise, clear the previous buffer, to do. Set the callback. And I think I just copy paste this. That's all right. And that just allows me to capture if it was if it failed, or if I for some stupid reason committed a null callback function. So okay, clear the previous buffer. That looks all right. Up here, what I need to do is don't need to worry about that. Code point. So I could validate really that that's a valid code point I want in my console. I mean, I could do. So I have a limited number of things I'm actually able to type. I could translate it to Unicode. I don't know if I'm going to bother with that. I do have some other characters would be nice to render. So what I'm just going to say, look, if it's outside the printable ASCII range, I'm going to ignore it for now. So if it's 32 to 126 are valid. Oh, actually, I do want line feed, which is 10. If code point well, maybe I do need this callback set from whatever enables typing mode actually somehow, because it's not going to work the same way for everywhere potentially. So what if I make this call a function pointer, and I'll say void. How does this one work? I'm just trying to remember the function pointer layout. So it's like character callback, and it's something like this. So I don't want them to have to deal with this whole window GLFW thing. So I'm just going to call their function, I think. Oh, I can't do that from there. That's painful. Okay. Abandon that. Too complicated. The other thing I could do is just have an array of code points and let whatever wants that array parse it later. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Something like that. Yeah, that feels a bit better. Okay, so all I'm doing is building an array. I'm not trying to do anything fancy with parsing characters or anything like that. Enable user typing, set a callback. Okay. So I'll need one more function. Okay. Maybe I should do that the other way around. Something like that. Okay. I think that's going to work. This is very tedious. But I didn't have this function before for some reason. Okay. Do I need that there? Maybe I don't. Okay, I avoided that. Okay. Clear the previous buffer. I don't think I actually need to do that. I can just say done. Let's see if that builds and see what 100 things that complains about. Unknown type. I'll just keep it the same as GLFW had. That should keep it happy. I think I can do something like this to stop that complaining. Yep. Okay, so now I have functions that can disable and enable typing. And let's say I always want it enabled for the time being. Let's do that right up here somewhere. And then whenever I'm just going to, this is going to be buggy, to do validate code points to UTF-8 or something later. So I should be able to feed everything I type to the console. Append user text. Oh, that's painful. Maybe I do need to do that. Um, so zipping through the text, I'm gonna say text I equals code points. Yeah, that's fine for now. And then after that, we can say text I equals, make sure it's terminated. Append user enter text, that sounds okay, but I also want to clear the text after I've processed all that. And 257, I did main code points pointer, thank you. Oh, no, I did not. I meant this one. Actually, that one can go there. Okay, so will it type? Yes, it will. A, B, C, D. So it's like a frame behind. If I type F, it doesn't do anything, but then the next frame it does. So I think I've got this in the wrong place. For some reason, maybe I need to do this after the drawing. Seems a little odd, but okay, let's try that. It's like a frame behind. I don't mind one frame of latency on typing, I guess, but it's a bit odd. Still the same problem. That's weird. Okay. So there is something wrong with that. Append user enter text, input clear type code points. That really should be telling it needs to redraw. Redraw required true. So why isn't that happening? I'm going to go there. Oh, code points should not be greater than 1. Watch list. Wow, no. That is bizarre. Okay. Why is it even in there? That is very strange. Did that even build properly? No, it didn't. Okay. That is weird. So it doesn't actually register that the... Oh, I've got the wrong logic in there. If code points is greater than 0, it should say. Tiny, tiny little bugs. Okay, so now I should have no frames of latency typing in. Yeah, cool. Backspace doesn't work yet, so I actually have and return doesn't work, so I need to capture those separately. I don't think they even get recorded in that text stream. How I now I'm not really sure how I get those. Was key pressed key code? I guess I do that first. Yeah, that's a tricky one. And then if I press backspace, how do I remove a thing from the console? Oh, there we go. Okay. What's the key code for backspace and ASCII? PS. And then in console, I had backspace. Let's see if that works. Digit 8, excuse me? Oh, octal. Octal notation is the most annoying thing in the world. It's kind of comes on by accident, and then the one time you want to use it, it's not really clear when you're using it. Oh, that's not working at all. Do I need a different function for that? Where else have I used this console? I'm sure I've used it elsewhere. Is it in here? Maybe I have a code for it. Well, let's key press there. That should work. Maybe that's not the code for it. That would make more sense, wouldn't it? Oh, it's in here. Input. Backspace. Why is this such a big deal? Okay, input. Backspace. Okay. I'll put that in here. Odd that it's not in there. Okay. Backspace and enter I definitely need, and autocomplete. I'll have tab for that. Thank you very much. I'll have all of these. There's a screenshot in here. It is, but not the other ones, which is odd. Okay. Odd. Okay, that might work. I'm not really sure why it wasn't working with just the code. I guess it has a different number. Okay, backspace works. I guess I can do the same thing with enter. What was the key? What was the command for that? I've got too many things open now. Autocomplete was that one. What do I do for enter? I think maybe I just do this. Maybe I just give it a /n. You think? Question mark. Uh, whoops. So this should give me an interactive console. Um, yeah, okay. So I've got some built-in commands, help and stuff. Help, clear, and then tab auto completes. List vars, okay, list funcs, cool. So then I can register variables and functions with it and call them from the console, or change the values or set them and stuff like that, which is really, after, okay, wasting an hour and a half farting around with setting that up, that really speeds up development if you can interactively change stuff. Some people actually go the route of like hot reloading their whole project. So build your whole program into a library and then actually edit your code directly in a text editor. When you save it, have your program reload the library. A little bit unstable sometimes, but same kind of idea. You're interactively changing stuff. But then you have the code working right away. I'm more interested in changing little setting variables and stuff like that. Okay, so what can I actually do interactively that might be fun? Close others. I lost my viewers there while I was doing boring, tiny bug fixing and interface setting up. Okay, so I'm thinking of what's some nice stuff we can set up to call from the console that it interactively do cool things. Maybe draw a wireframe view of the background, perhaps. Have I already got something to do that? No. Chunks draw. Okay, so do I have somewhere in my drawing code something to do? Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Drawing and wireframe. Wireframe mode. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Um, so I can say if chunks wireframe, something like that. Yeah. So right up the top where I set up my console stuff, I can go, and then I can go register variable. I'll call it the same thing. Give it a pointer to my variable and tell it what data type it is. Bool. Do I not have bool? I do. Okay, that should work. So if I've got my console open now and I type in, I can see the variable, and if I go enter, it should tell me its current value is 0. Change it to 1, then all the chunks are drawn in wireframe mode. I forgot to turn that off again after the wireframe is after the chunks are drawn. So that's the idea of the console anyway. So you can do interactive stuff, reset your terrain, regenerate a new thing, whatever. Oh, I can't turn the console off just yet, but yeah, that's the plan, Lee Stanley. Um, and so you can kind of see stuff happening. Now there was a bug in there, wasn't there, where it didn't delete anything until I built something. So let's see why that is. Um, somewhere in here, there's going to be a mouse click thing. Um, hmm. Okay, if RMB clicked chunk set block type and chunk, and that should change. I feel like I fixed this bug before, actually. Um, if previous type is error and the new type is not error, um, if the previous type is not error and the new type is error, that should actually say changed equals true. I think. Why would it return before that though? Oh, I don't think that's the problem. I think it's. Is it? Um, don't think that's it. Hmm. I think I'm missing something obvious in the logic there. Um, so as far as I can tell, that shouldn't be a problem. No, that wasn't it. Okay. Hmm. 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 Oh, create block on face. I think I'm calling the wrong function somehow. Set block type in chunk and create block in face. Okay. I think this should always be true. So if the new type is air, the previous type, that should never be the case, I think. Let's just try that. Hmm. I'm going to have to debug it because I can't see obviously what the problem is. Okay, so let's go into that function. Let's go into this function. So the new type is air. The previous type is stone. And it shouldn't be exiting there. It's not. Okay. It should be coming into here. It should be saying changed is true. Yeah. should also be changed as true. I think we can just say false there. This is a bit silly. I mean, okay. When is it not true? Maybe it should say change this true and only do return false in this instance where they're the same type. I can't think why otherwise that would be a thing. And why isn't it respecting that here? Odd. Okay. 155. What? Let's try that again. Weirdly, it's not stopping there at all. Ah, okay. I think some reason it is screwed up big time there. It should definitely be getting in there. So I wonder if it's not building properly for some reason. That should not be an issue. Okay, so let's see what this says. It's true, so it should be going in there. Oh, it's not flagging a particular chunk as dirty. That's the problem. Okay. So I've just forgotten to set this thing. Where chunk to modify. I'll just copy this. So this function's not setting the correct thing for some reason. I think it's just that. I think this will fix that little bug. Yes. Okay, now I can delete stuff immediately. Okay. I think I added in some dirty flag thing and forgot to put it in all the right places, and for some reason it's not updated when I fixed it last time. Okay. Cool. That looks like it's working. Okay, and I have a console. It's always typing, and it would be great if backspace kind of had a timer thing. Can I be bothered with that? Probably not. So A has a timer thing, but backspace only works when I hit it once. Oh boy, that's painful to do. I'm going to skip that. For now, where did I put backspace? Bah. Something like that. Yeah, okay. So I have the ability to do stuff from the console. That's all I really wanted. I probably want a way to turn the console on and off. And I think I added that in somewhere, that key. Um, console key, okay. Um, so I'll have a variable to say if the console is open or not. Where would I put that up here somewhere? Oh, where did I put backspace? Let's do that up here. Was key pressed. So if the console is not open, check if the open console key has been pressed. Console key. Did I just do that? I literally just typed that. I think I might be getting a bit tired. Okay. Else. Just make it the one state. Okay, so I also want to enable that input capture thing. What did I call that? Input. It's not that one. It's not that one. Enable typing mode. Okay. Else. I'm going to call this. Want to. How do I turn it off? Is it gonna? I think it's gonna come up as a. I don't know if it'll do both. We can try it. We can try it to do check if this works or not. I might need to pull it out of the input stream. So I only want to capture the typing stuff when the console is open. La 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 la, and only draw it when it's open. Where does that actually end? Oh dear, what have I done? Where does that end? Oh god, that's the whole drawing loop that I'm now enclosing in if console. Okay. Okay. These braces thing, I just really. Where does that actually end now? Feel like. Uh, what is going on? Oh, I didn't close it. That's the problem. I definitely am getting tired. Yes. Okay. So backspace, console command, autocomplete, and that can go. Whoa, what did I do? And image redraw and draw the console. Okay. Oh, no. Damn braces. Why are you gonna be like this? feel like that's fine. How dare you question me? That's fine, that's fine. Text timer. I don't know what I've missed there. Is there an if statement with a trailing? I think you need a close parenthesis after console open if. This one here? This one here? It's one of these anyway. Did I forget this one? Yes. Yes, is it that one? No. That looks okay. It's one of them. It's definitely one of these things that I have somehow screwed up, and I cannot see it. Have I actually? No. In main, somehow I have lost a closing brace. Oh dear. Okay, what is going on with this? Oh dear. What can the matter be? There are too many damn braces. Right, that's not great. So I'm gonna have to pick two and look at all of these. So text texture, that's fine. FPS, that's fine. While loop, should window close? That's the one I'm missing, isn't it? So actually this whole drawing thing probably isn't supposed to be here at all. I think that might have been an extra one. That looks better. Collapse block would have been clever. I think I disabled that though because I end up getting annoyed by it. But that would have been a good use for it. I'm not that clever today. Okay, so if I press tilde, it should open the console. Oh, that actually worked. Okay, help. Oh, typing's not working now. Okay, it does display it. It does display it. See, open. So, odd. What have I done? I might have screwed up something on this function. Let's have a look at that. See what happens. Oh, that should not be happening. Oh, that should be inside the if statement, shouldn't it? So actually, because that works, I can do this. I didn't expect that to work. C open equals, I can just kind of do something like that. I think that'll work. Open. Ha 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 ha. That worked. Okay, so cool. I've opened it again. Yes. But if I close it and try typing in help, press enter, nothing should happen. Good. Okay, I think that's working. The other thing I need to do is disable normal keyboard input while the console is open so that I can't move around going ee. So maybe I can still let the mouse work because I don't want the mouse to do anything on the console. Where is the other keyboard input? That's okay. Is key held? This is the stuff I want to disable. So if not, what did I do? Oh dear. I really hate keyboard shortcuts. Most people love them. I hate them. I would turn all of them off if I had the energy, because I mispress them more often than I want to press them. And if, yeah, okay. I see tutorial in the title. Oh, sorry, I didn't update the titles and stuff because I'm running on Linux and it's using a different OBS and it's not obvious what the stream stuff is in here. Maybe I can do that in the docs somehow. It seems to have slightly different views of things. Um, yeah, I'm sorry, that's my bad. I totally forgot that was there. Next, I'm putting a stream schedule up. Okay, I'm just gonna update this right now. It should actually say game dev playing with voxels and stuff, something like that. That'll do. And then I'll change the description actually. Oh man, how do I do this? Twitch has the worst interface of all time. Edit panels, description. Um, we are doing, depending on stream, intro to computer programming, random game dev, intro to programming tools like fuzzers, tutorial intro to programming tools like fuzzers, which I'll do later, and tutorial intro to 3D programming, OpenGL or WebGL setup. So those are the topics I'm going to do. Today I'm just mucking around because I couldn't think of anything to do and people wanted me to stream random game dev stuff. I am making I'll just post the link in there. I am making a rough schedule, tentative schedule and topics, and video links, recorded previous stream links. Okay, so yeah, I'm using OpenGL. I'm running on Linux. I work on Linux most of the time. I also work on Windows and Mac occasionally. Most of the time, I'm developing primarily on Linux and then porting to other platforms. So, for that reason, I like to use OpenGL. I like to be very productive on hobby projects. So, I'm not interested in doing Vulkan. I want to get immediate results and then fiddle around with consoles and voxels and stuff like that. So for those reasons, I'm using OpenGL. Uh, and I like low-level programming, so I'm not using a game engine or anything. Okay, I tried to update the description. I think that worked. I tried to update the title and it didn't do anything. Okay, weird. What if I reload that page? Game dev playing with voxels and stuff. That's what it should have said the whole time. Thanks for pointing that out. I don't know why that link didn't become a link, but okay. Yeah, that's probably better. I lost all the chat though, so I think I saw the last message. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I've totally lost my train of thought. But basically, what I was trying to do was I had a voxel project and a console drop-down project, and I was trying to smush them together today. So that was this afternoon's play around. I'll probably take a break soon because I noticed my brain is kind of starting to miss obvious things I shouldn't be missing. But I have a console, and I've absolutely already forgotten what the last thing I was doing was. Oh, preventing it from moving the camera while it was open. Cool. So that looks like it works. So that's probably a nice place to stop. Some other things I wanted to do is add in some console commands so I could regenerate the terrain while the program was still running. Putting in, different starting variables like I want a less mountainous terrain, go, and then regenerate it for me. Or I want to enable and disable different distance clipping or fog, or I want to do a slices thing. So I think I have the code there already somewhere for in the shader cutting off terrain so I only see one or two levels at once so I can go up and down floors essentially inside something I'm building with an overhead view like this. So like I have in the other game dev project, which split the voxels by layer. I want to do that, but I'll do it in the shader instead of making actual separate layers for everything. And give that a go. And it would be nice to have some console variables to tweak, just how big those layers are and get something nice interactively without having to rebuild the program every time. Um, Stuff like that. Did you do all of this on stream? No, I don't know if I've done any of this on stream actually. It's just a little tinkering around thing I've had, when I've had 5 minutes here and there. Um, I might have recorded or streamed. I think I recorded a couple of videos on my YouTube there somewhere, but they're not anything in depth. So I don't think I've described how I actually did it. The basic idea is, I think it's this version. I've basically done it the same way that Minecraft was done. So you have a world subdivided into chunks that are that big. So they're like 16 by 16 by 256, which fits nicely into the range of things you can have in integers. So like you will find just about every voxel project has some subdivision of exactly that size. You can do it other sizes. The last one I did, I split it into layers, and that kind of worked all right, but it was not quite ideal. Um, the most interesting thing is there are other voxel rendering libraries out there, so I've almost got to a point where this could split out into a little reusable library. For other voxel projects, for me, the most interesting thing is I've used a color picking algorithm to identify which voxel in which chunk is underneath the mouse cursor, and then which face of which voxel. So I can choose which face I want to build things onto, the top, the side. Minecraft, I think, uses ray tracing. I don't think it uses color picking. I like color picking better for this, but it was a little tricky to get that right. And what it actually does is off screen renders a whole separate, everything tries to draw again. Um, but I've got a sub window so that it's only like 2 by 2 pixels around the mouse cursor where anything actually ends up drawing. So it doesn't redraw the whole screen again, but at least has the ability to do that, but I limit it to just the mouse cursor. So I have a tiny little image, and so everything that's around the mouse there with these few voxel faces will get redrawn, but instead of drawing it full color like that, it draws each unique face with a unique color value. And what I do is whenever I'm interested in hovering the mouse around, I'll look up in that little side image I have in the background, I will look up what colors are under the mouse, and then I have a little function to decompose that back into the correct X and Y matching chunk, and then the correct X and Y Z matching voxel, and then the correct 0 to 6 face that it's on. So that lets me do that. That for me is the most interesting thing about it. I don't know if I can display that for you. I might be able to fiddle around and get that to output on the screen so you can see what that looks like. But basically, it's like I have the color that it outputs is red, green, blue, alpha. So it's like 4 channels. And I think in the first channel, I encode the number for the chunk as a shade of red. And then I think so each chunk has a number from 0 to whatever, 256, something like that. I think it's 16 by 16 chunks and then 16 by 16 by 256 voxels in each chunk. And so I think the green is like the X times Y voxel, and then the blue is the 0 to 256, the level up in the chunk it is, and then the last one is 0 to 6 for the face, something like that. It might be a little bit different, but that's the idea. And I thought that was pretty cool. And it's really, really fast. I guess the other thing in previous voxel things that I'd done, I used post-processing, so I wanted to get nice outlines drawn around the solid faces, and that required a second pass. But then if you do multi-pass rendering, you lose your nice anti-aliasing, so all the edges look all crappy, and all your lines that you draw look all fuzzy. So then you need more passes and more algorithms to tidy that up, and they never look quite as good as if you use the built-in anti-aliasing, the hardware stuff, MSAA. So I would really like to keep that if I can. It's super fast. It looks really crisp. It doesn't look crappy when you move around. All of these post-processing things have big drawbacks and cost a lot of rendering time. So I'm going to try and do it again without that, if I can. But it might mean I thought that the outline rendering did a really unique style for when you were like looking at little rooms you've carved into different levels and things. It looked really nice. So I'll have to think about that. There's probably a nicer way to do that that doesn't require another whole entire rendering pass. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. So actually, you can see the text. It's probably a bit small, but there's text in the top left there. Oh, I actually won't resize. Where it says the hovered voxel is, and it has the chunk index, the chunk ID, which is just a number. So that'll be um, chunks across multiplied by the 16 multiplied by the chunks down, something like that. So if I move the mouse around over different chunks, that number will change. And then next to it, it says voxel, and there's three numbers, and that's the X, Y, and Z index of a voxel. So across, so 15, oh, so it'll go the other way around, I guess. So it'll go, it now says 13. Oh no, it was that way. Maybe I was on the wrong side. So this one here with the pink thing on it is 15 and then 0, and then so it's moved over to the next chunk there, 171 to 172, and then it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way that way, and then up and down is the next value of the 3, so 64, 65, 66, and the tallest possible thing will be 255. And the very, very bottom one will be 0. And then the other one is the dimension in and out of that into the screen direction. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the last number there is face equals, and then they all have a number. So 3 on top, 5, 1, and then the bottom is another one. Yeah, that's the idea. I'd like to make it more efficient, so I don't think I've put in Frustum culling in this version, so it'd be nice if the chunks that were just out of screen were culled. Don't think I have that working. Maybe I do. The number for chunks drawn there is going up and down, so maybe I do have that in. I can't remember. And I've used an algorithm called Diamond Square, which is similar to Perlin Noise, and that generates nice looking hills and valleys. I think that's the same thing Minecraft used. Like the inventor guy kept saying he used Perlin Noise, but I'm not actually sure he did. I think he might have used Diamond Square. I may be wrong about that, but it's really, really nice and really simple to code. So it's like 5 lines of code, something like that. So I have a file here for basically you give it an X and a Y, an X and a Z, so an across and an in, and it'll give you an up, a height value for that. And by doing a couple of passes over the whole area, and you can actually spit out an image of that too if you want to. So yeah, so I say I'm going to allocate a height map, and all my terrain is based on a height map I generate from this. So diamond square, and I'm like, okay, here's your height map that you can write into. I've got some parameters to tweak it. So I've got a thing called noise scale, which says how random it is with ups and downs. What am I using for RNG? So I think I'm just using rand for random number generation. Oh, I made my own. I don't remember doing that, but maybe I do. I made my own based on the built-in rand, so it's not fantastic, but it's like good enough for this kind of terrain. Oh, it's a random number between x1 and x2, I think. Yeah, that's all it does, and I use the built-in rand function to do that. And I seed it with, I think, the time to give it a different terrain every time I load it, but I print that out on the screen, so if I like a terrain or if there's a weird bug in it, I can reproduce that exactly later. Um, Yeah, so basically that's it. And then Diamond Square produces some weird output with funny little pointy bits on the top of hills. So to get rid of those, I run another pass over just to smooth the terrain out. And that seems to be something everyone does that uses this algorithm, just to make it look nicer. So I have a median filter to do that. And it just runs a little window over your height map you've generated and averages things out a bit. Yes, yeah. So you do get different numbers for seeds on time for Windows and Mac and Apple. But yeah, Rand works differently on different systems as well. I might make a little note there and try your suggestion out. Try. I don't really need determinism. But yeah, why not give it a whirl? X or Shift 32. Try X or Shift 32 for consistent rand equiv consistent RNG across platforms. Yeah, why not? Um, no reason not to really. What I like to do is start off with just basic stuff that's in not requiring any fancy platform specific flags and ons and offs. As long as I can get away with it, keep the code simpler. But yeah, I'll give that a shot. I think I'm about to finish the stream there because I'm just kind of super tired. But I'll make a little to-do list for next time. Um, to do next on stream. So what I'm thinking about next time is um, I already forgot what I was talking about. Regenerate terrain via console. Um, maybe save and load terrain to from file from console. Um, oh, first I'm culling. Maybe it's already there. Stuff like that. Yeah, I think that'll probably do. Oh yeah, the slice view. Tweak on and enable console. That's pretty much it. I don't know. Is there anything else you'd like me to talk about? I can't promise I remember how I did everything now. I guess my other favorite thing is having some very simple shadow calculations. So it's not using proper OpenGL, 3D lighting or anything. It just says um, if there's no block above you between you and the sky, then you're fully bright. And if there is, then you're in shadow. And otherwise, does a little angle. So if you're on the side, it's slightly darker. And if you're on the other side, it's slightly darker again. So it just very, very simple lighting. I like the idea that you have an overhang that creates a darker factor like that. So you can see there's a block down the bottom that's getting darker in light. I thought that was pretty neat. I had water, like flowing water in the last one. That's really hard to do water and lava and stuff like that. That doesn't get out of control, it turns out. So I don't know if you remember early Minecraft, there were like players would accidentally create an infinite lava flow and it would get insane. That absolutely happens. It's easier to do that than it is to make something stable. Um, and it gets really computationally complex if you have to keep regenerating all the chunks all the time as your like water flows out. So I probably need to rethink that at some point as well. It was tricky, but it's cool to have it there. What I really want to do is have a strategy game where you can do stuff like that, and you have rivers that flow, and if you accidentally dig underneath them, like in Minecraft, it'll flood and drown everyone. Um, but I also want the ability to have something like a water wheel for generating power, so you can scoop up either like you're affected by water or you literally scoop up a block of water and leave a gap and then another block falls in and that will allow you to power things. I think that really appeals to me. I think that'd be really cool. um, How practical that is to actually do, I don't know. When I was trying to do that, where you would have literally the water blocks would move to create a flow, you have weird little gap patterns that emerge and then shut and then emerge again later on down the flow of the river, and it looks kind of weird. So I don't know if that's the right way to do it. Maybe it's better to have a block and it has a flow direction or something like that, and maybe you can animate it so that it moves in that direction. Um, to create a difference in pressure, I guess, and then you can have power generated if there's any flow at all. Maybe that's the way to do it. It definitely looked a bit weird when you were scooping up or moving or generating new blocks. Yeah, so basically I set up the lighting so that if you're inside a cave, it still looked, you could tell which side was which. So if I rotate around, I added a little small factor, so the closer it is to directly facing you, the brighter it is. So if I move away, this front side will become a bit darker, which is like a sneaky trick from CAD rendering that you would do if you were using you'll see like SolidWorks and these kind of things do that, and it's just an easy way to add a little bit of perception of 3D. I don't really know why those blocks are lighter. They probably shouldn't be. It's a bit weird, isn't it? It could be that they're on the edge of a chunk. That's exactly what that is, and I've forgotten something there, so be taking a screenshot of that for you bug later. It's not a big deal though. I guess the lighting setup doesn't consider the boundaries between chunks. Yeah, that's exactly what that was. Or was it? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's quite fun though. Making this magical world emerge, and like I didn't do anything, just some magical random number generation built all this stuff. Um, and it's kind of neat to see this happen. So once you get that consistently working between chunks, it's pretty fun. And you have this cool little world to explore. So part of me wants to do a strategy game where you have like an overhead view, but then if you do that, you're kind of missing these views. So that was a problem with the past thing I did, where you were really only looking at one chunk at a time or one slice of a chunk at a time. You're kind of missing the cool big view. So it'd be nice to be able to switch between the two views seamlessly. So I'm thinking maybe a middle mouse button click or something like that will give you your individual floor view that otherwise you can wander around a bit. Um, and it would be cooler to have a goblin invasion in a big view like this than if you're just looking at one slice of a 3D world. So what's the point of generating all this interesting 3D terrain if you never really get to appreciate the variation in it? Adding a bit of fog was kind of neat for hiding the cutoff distance. I think Minecraft does the same thing. Otherwise, you end up having to render a huge number of chunks, which is it starts getting expensive even on a high-powered graphics card. Um, so you have to start putting some tricks in. So I've got like a 1080 Ti NVIDIA thing, and it will start to slow down below the level that the new Doom game runs at in terms of the refresh rate, which is a bit like, oh, that's embarrassing. So you have to start being a bit clever with limiting what gets drawn, which means they're very clever at limiting how things are drawn and having level of detail techniques. So things in the distance have lower detail. You can't really do that with voxels because it'll be really obvious that you're hiding blocks. There may be some neat tricks you can do there, so you don't end up, Oh, maybe it was typing when I had that up closed. No. Um, oh, it's chunks wireframe. Yeah, so you can see it's rendering everything for all the chunks that are in view, and if you can limit that somehow, that'd be nice. One advantage of having it split into vertical slices was everything below the surface you could hide. So now it's only rendering at 60 frames a second, which is kind of tragic. So getting yeah, switching from wireframe view is a nice way to do that. So you can do things like occlusion culling, but it's a bit hard to do between chunks. You could maybe pick the chunks closest to you as occluders and the background chunks as occludees. That might work. Um, but yeah, adding fog was a nice way to hide that things are disappearing as they get further away. And it has the add-on benefit that it gives you some depth perception or some appreciation of scale where you don't get that normally. Um, it just looks like you're sitting in Lego normally. So when you add a bit of a fade out, it looks like a much bigger real distance, which is something I noticed with games much earlier on. If you want to get that feeling of distance, you kind of do need to fade stuff out. Yeah, tree and prop placement. So you can use the same. Yeah, I could start adding some stuff. That would be cool. Trees would be nice. I don't know if automatically generating them or manually generating them, placing them is more fun. But I could do both of those things. Basically, once you, um, I actually store for every chunk. I store a layer that says what height the sky level chunk is. So it would be really easy for me to per chunk look that up and put trees randomly only on that top level. So that's really handy for things like determining what's outdoors and what's indoors. So like for working out the light level, I have a factor that determines, its outsidishness. And so this is 0, and if I get rid of this one here, it's a 1. Um, so these ones on the top here are now the outside tiles. So if I'm looking down at the top, I actually have an array that says these are the exact list of things that are on the top of the chunk. And so it'd be really easy for me to use that to put trees only on the top so they don't appear inside anything. Um, so placing things, that would be handy. Otherwise, if you're clicking to place things, I can actually use the same coordinates I'm using to determine the chunk or the face to say, okay, now I want to place something, and then I'll go and look up that voxel index, and it's really easy to translate that into world XYZ coordinates, and I can place things there. Um, and just use voxels for determining where everything is. In the last little game thing I was doing, so I did a sneaky little trick I thought was pretty cool. Okay, so it looks like these guys are moving around in the world willy-nilly as they want from here to there. They're not one step at a time like a board game tile, even though the world is pretty much split up into tiles. But actually, they are one at a time. They're either entirely on this voxel or entirely on that voxel. It looks like they're moving halfway in between, but they're not actually. I wanted to do this multiplayer, and so it's really easy to send the current game state to someone if it's just discrete voxel positions for everything in the world. Much less reliable if you've got some floating point XYZ decimal numbers for everything's position. Um, but to make it look like they're moving from 1 to 2, they're actually it looks like they're animating from this square to the next one, they're already in the next square. I just have a little delay on the animation, and in the vertex shader I have hard coded a little thing that says, okay, interpolate it between the previous position and where it currently is with some timer. So it's totally fake, but it kind of tickled my fancy to do it like that. And it's kind of handy that you're still basically a board game that's doing one step at a time with one square at a time with everything. It makes it very easy to work out the rules for what's happening in the game. Um, yeah, it also makes it very easy to do pathfinding. And I think I used like a greedy best first search to work out the paths from A to B. I used A star first, but it wasn't as good as greedy. It was um, too performance intensive. Once you have to start doing pathfinding in 3D, it becomes a bit of a pain. So greedy was all you needed to do, a nice quick little path finding to do that kind of thing. Yeah, so this is the like slice view, which I thought was pretty cool, but a bit limiting in some ways. But it's really easy with this kind of view to like lay out blueprints for where you want them to dig little rooms and things for you. And then maybe you want to go down a level down there. So yeah, I thought that was pretty neat anyway. But that was the kind of view I wanted. Oh, they want a stockpile to put stone. Um, Oh, I had little objectives there on the top left as well. I forgot about that. So the first objective is build a stockpile for iron ore and then store 5 iron ore. And they're this slightly different color here with a bit of red in it are the iron ore ones. So they'll put the iron ore in that stockpile and the stone in that one. That's where I was going originally. So I could recreate that without too much trouble, and it would work a little bit more pleasantly with the new voxel setup, I think. And you can speed it up, of course. So if you don't want to wait all day, you can get them to move super quickly. Oh, he's stuck. Yeah, so it's a little tricky doing it like this to actually build stairs that go down a level, because like how do you do that? Because it was really hard to get them to, in a sensible way with pathfinding so they didn't get stuck, to dig out a square below or above where the level they're moving on. It's really, you can do it, but it's causes more problems than it solves. So my approach was, okay, I'm gonna have a variation of stairs which goes down, and then how do you place them? Okay, maybe like that. It's just a little weird. So it would be nice if I could. And then what if you're putting stairs on the side of a cliff? It's kind of a pain that you can't put them on the sides. Um, there's some gold. And that really, it was really only obvious after playing around with it for ages that it was kind of a limitation that I hadn't thought of. I think there may actually be water in this one. So if I turn the fog off, um, oh, I animated the console open and close for no reason as well, which is quite nice. So I could do that too. So I had a mode here where I could switch between the slice view, which does this kind of thing. You always want to have a few below where you're looking at so that you can see if you're looking off a bottomless cliff or not. Um, and I found that like about 10 was about the right number. But you can turn it off and see the whole thing, but then the frame rate tanks, of course. It's okay with a small number of chunks, like this is only a few chunks, so that's right. But way down here in the original map, which is buried deep below the surface, I had some water. And if I look at it like this, it is actually flowing from a little reservoir thing, but it creates these weird patterns of no water, some water, no water, some water, and it's really hard to know what's going on. So maybe that's not the ideal way to do that. And when I was setting this up, I got more water explosions going everywhere and flooding the whole level than anything else. So tricky. Water is very tricky to get right. So I think I can. I think I have a button here to make stuff. Do I? I do. No, I just made it crash. So that was clearly not the button. That was the crash button. Unsupported zone type. Hmm. I think I've forgotten what all the buttons do. Yeah, no, that was the crash button. What if I press it twice? No. Okay. I used to have an ability to add in a water spring that would create water in the level. But yeah, you really have to constrain that. You can't let it just create water until it can't create anymore. Otherwise, it'll get out of hand and flood everything. um, yeah, so I could have a look at that at another stream. I might do another tutorial next, like starting C programming or perhaps setting up OpenGL. But I think that's for me for today. I'm gonna have a dinner break. And I think I've reached the point coding where if I don't take a break, I'm just going to make bugs. So I think I'll leave it there. But I'm glad that worked. It didn't work as well as the setting it up on Windows. I had audio problems and stuff, but I think it was okay. And I totally forgot to make the text bigger so that people could read it until about half an hour in. But yeah, I'll give it another shot. Thank you for listening, commenting. I don't feel like anyone learned anything from this, but it might have been amusing. Catch you guys later. I'll disconnect however I configure it to turn OBS off so that it saves stuff and all that kind of thing, and then I'll see if I missed any chat messages.